Our next speaker knows style and design, but she sets her own distinct fashion through her commitment to women's empowerment and making a social contribution. With a motto of succeed to serve, not serve to succeed, it's no wonder. What a pleasure it is to bring up Ms. Sungjoo Kim, founder, chairperson, and chief visionary officer of the Sungjoo Group and MCM Holding AG.
Good morning, dear sisters and friends and my family member. In fact, I'm here with my daughter. She's quite shy. In fact, I written something, but after hearing all this amazing, glorious speech, I decided to scrap up and sharing my experience, if you don't mind. I'm an entrepreneur from Korea. And anyway, I'm very happy and honored to be invited. In fact, when George Kell sent me this invitation, I was just recovering from extreme busy season. I was a co-chair of a presidential campaign out of blue to help the first women president to be Park Geun-hye's campaign. So we won. In fact, I don't like politics. I don't know much about politics. My father always said, don't go near politics. But when I saw this women candidate losing to opposition guys who were unifying together, I thought I need to rescue her and rescue the country. I did. In fact, how difficult to emerge as a women leader in such an environment in Korea. Is there anybody who traveled to business to do something around there is very tough. In fact, Korea is heavily influenced by Confucius tradition. Therefore, most of the business deals done through heavy drinking parties, often associated with the geisha parties. We call it room salon party. I don't know what they are doing inside. And also, golf outings also often associated with the bribings. So so-called the big boys network based on their hometown network and also schooling, but women are obviously always completely excluded. When I try to refuse, not compromise with this corruption scale, stand for my own principle, honesty and honesty practice, and boys didn't like me at all, apart from being a woman. And also I don't drink, so when I brought up my daughter when she was very young, when I started my own company, and also I don't like drinking much. In fact, let me share a little bit of my personal background. Coming from big family, father established one of the largest energy group called the Daesung Group, controls a majority part of a city gas operation and industrial gas and some automotive parts, etc. But even though I come from strong Christian family background, but I think my father was more Confucius gentleman. Therefore, I was born as a youngest among six. He thought always the brothers take on business automatically, but only the girls, what they can achieve, regardless how smart they are, just getting married into big family, carrying family legacy through arranged marriage. When I refused and find my own sweetheart on campus, which became my daughter's father, and of course I was completely disowned. It is inherited from all this multi-billion-dollar inheritance. So I was just left complete alone in the street. Therefore, I had to drop out from school. I couldn't pay for my schooling. And what I did was, at that time, I was actually studying briefly in America. And I ended up working at Bloomingdale's as a trainee. That's why I learned fashion retailing. So when I returned to Korea in 1990, I decided to establish my own company under my name, Sungjoo Group. But at the same time, coincidentally, I was delivering my daughter. So I know how tough for women to have a baby at the same starting up your own company in very male chauvinistic environment. This is a triple handicap I went through. In fact, did I get defeated? No. What I did, instead of getting really depressed and kind of outcasted, not being included in this big boys club, I decided to take a more innovative way. Why don't I, instead following the men's game, why don't I set up my women's game? It means maximize women's strengths. What would be? Detailed attentions. We are end user of all the consumer products. So I decided to put in more attention for product development with a more enhanced R&D, and also my consumers and also my employees, and also I was the early adapter of the IT system to be more accurate and speedy. to win this boys' game, which I did. In fact, my company, as Joanne kindly mentioned, in fact, I'm a handbag company. As you can see, this is my bag. Actually, my company used to be the distributor for European luxury brands like Gucci, Sonia Cape Saint Laurent, Marks and Spencer, etc. Eventually, I acquired the brand called MCM. She just mentioned this is a German handbag brand. As first time as a Korean entity, including big companies, ever purchased European luxury run in global scale. So it was not easy road because even at the beginning we grew quite well, but we went through the Asian financial crisis, you remember, in 1998, and I lost most of my businesses. But instead of crying over all these force majeure situation, I decided to also stand up again. So I successfully restructured and re-emerged as another also fashion empire. Now with the MCM, since I acquired the brand 2005, in 8 years' time, we now running about more than $500 million company, distributing in 30 countries, 1,100 employees from 15 nationalities. I'm very proud to report that 90% of our total employment is women, and including senior position. So we clearly proved to many of those big boys in Korea that married to women can make a very successful business, not only in domestic scale and global scale. In fact, I may also witness that my true success factor behind all these achievements is not from money. It's a very mission-driven. It's really from deep my heart. Since I was so much discriminated from my household, I can imagine the rest of other women coming lesser privileged. Therefore, I decide to first prove women can do it in my own society with the women's way. Also, out of all my earnings, I really also devote a lot of women empowerment, providing global leadership program, etc. And second mission I've been carrying was also try to fight against corruption. As you know, it is a very fast-moving emerging market. Korea, even China, Russia, used to be even in America, everywhere around the world. Unfortunately, so much corruption is going on through it, especially these big boys club. And instead, as I mentioned, why don't I fight against smartly, not fight against man, but we just try to be ahead of the game. That's what I mentioned, that IT, information technology, is such an important tool women to emerge. You know what? Not only for the accuracy and speed I mentioned for all this infra from supply chain to distribution channel, retail operation, everything, but also e-commerce, m-commerce. This is a ever growing big virtual market which women should go for and women should dominate from. And also the third mission I've been carrying is, as a small medium company owner like me, started from scratch with very limited monetary resources, very limited human resources, and how can I compete big giant in global scale? In fact, my company, I also am very happy to report that even China, which is one of the biggest market with 1.5 billion people out there, one of the fastest growing economy in the world, and we are already opening more than 50 stores by end of this year. Within 2 years, we'll have 100 stores. We'll definitely win the biggest giants there. I don't have to mention which one I'm mentioning, starting with the L brand. And so what I want to say is really, I'm not here to really bombshell saying how proud I achieve. I just want to witness that I come from the same any other ordinary women's background, start from scratch, having baby, no support, no recognition, very heavily male chauvinistic environment. And what I want to really encourage you sisters in this room is, we don't really need to complain, just do it. That's what I want to say. In fact, also through this occasion, I'd like to also propose to WP. It's really remarkable because, as I mentioned, that we now selected the first women president. We need to help. And why don't I also propose to WP to take on Korea as a benchmarking case during the first women president tenure, whether currently Korea, as you know, is the 14th largest economy in the world now, out of those small countries, quite remarkable. But unfortunately, the current women's position by the World Economic Forum, actually gender gap report saying, embarrassingly, we stands for 108 out of 135 countries. We are like lowest It's impossible, very embarrassing. So what I like to do is, if with the collaboration of WEP, if we can really set every annual report, how we can push up this rank. So before the first women president ending her tenure, whether we can be within top 30. I know it's a very ambitious plan, but I think we can achieve. Especially when we urge the private sector, as actually Elizabeth mentioned, I learned so much from you already this morning. I think we can take in all the top big so-called conglomerates, drag them in, how much really they promote women, not only marginal, but middle and top level, really to show that how they can be more competitive with the integrating women's force there. And also, well, in conclusion, and before saying, I mean, I must really say, I'm seeing actually Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General, this afternoon. It is just a remark that as a Korean man, he took initiative to open this UN Women, and led by also the Madame Bachelet and all these esteemed colleagues. Really remarkable. So I think this is really time to make it happen. Why Korea, apart from just trying to promote in the top, kind of women's level, but Korea is a very tricky place, as you know. We are surrounded with superpowers from Russia, China, Japan, America now. Really, it's becoming very tricky place as geopolitically. So what's going to happen in Korean Peninsula will determine what's not going to happen in this world in terms of peace initiative. That's why there's such a crucial to have a women president, and through the women's leadership, I'm sure Korea can be initiating permanent peace, not only between two Koreas, for this global community. In conclusion, I just want to say very briefly, 21st century, we often characterized as a knowledge-based economy out of the Internet revolution. I think this kind of paradigm shift from very industrial-oriented big company and big factories and very partial top-down patriarchal leadership, I think need to be changed to be more horizontal, open, networking, globalized. Who can take on this new leadership is women. Because women has more than just a leadership, we have a motherhoodship. Why did I take on this mission, even taking risk and against all the odds? Because I care for my family, my community, my society, before my own self-interest. This is very valuable quality all women possess. Therefore, I really want to urge women leaders in this room that please take on the leadership. Don't wait for men change. They never change. So we have to really show what is women's leadership, okay? And also talking about our future generation, where our daughters are here this morning. I mean, women can only really pave, from my point of view, peaceful globalization. Let's do it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. That is a great rousing start, and the embodiment of women's empowerment in great shoes, too. To say, we appreciate the shoes. And we appreciate your challenge about doing Korea as a case. It's a really interesting notion of putting that together. So, Georg will be in touch.